You're listening to 240 Radio on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Yes, I'm sure you can find some on eBay. Just do eBay. If you're on the eBay, which I know some of you kids are, and you go to the last call, pick that up. That one's damn good. That's damn entertaining. But I mean, if you're gonna pick up Doing Time with New Jack, that's the one you want to pick up. Don't pick up Last Call. But also, you should pick up the first season of Wrestling Society X, especially for the commentary that's on it. So.
And the special features were my favorite part when I haven't seen that DVD in years, but I remember the special features being very excellent on the DVD series as well.
Yeah, well, we did try it. Those were good times. So those were times where I was going to California like every 3 or 4 weeks. Like that, I missed those times. At
the time, Wrestling Society X, it was the first opportunity a lot of independent talent had to get exposure and get paid. But now we see Sarah Del Rey got signed by WWE. There's potential Pac being signed by WWE. TNA used a lot of independent talent recently for their X Division Cup. How has the independent scene changed from when you were doing Wrestling Society X till now?
I think I think in 2005, I was married in 2005, so it was 2006. I think 2006, what we've seen in independent wrestling is sort of a shift where before it seemed that the bigger wrestling companies were looking at places other than pro wrestling companies to find guys. I mean, WWE would have their camps and such with the Funk family and the like, but, I mean, they would also do recruiting of their own, try and find big guys, amateur guys, power lifters and such. And then I think they realized here are some guys working for, Ring of Honor, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, Chikara, that have been around a little bit and know at least how to wrestle, and we can take what we have with that and work on certain attributes that they might have to be something better than what they currently are. And then I think there's also, there's a lot more emphasis on guys, putting on their own shows. I mean, I think indie wrestling was exploding, 2003, 2004, 2005. ECW dies. There's a niche right there that people want to see wrestling and such. And what TNA is doing right now that's making them successful is they're reminding people of the days where they had a superior wrestling product than the WWE because of the fact that they would bring in lots of new talent and sort of like, all these guys that were up and coming from the indies. So I think in general, Ring of Honor has definitely done a lot to sort of shape the wrestling landscape that we see today. But if there was another bigger independent company during that time, you might be saying it about that too. So,
what do you think of this comparison? Now, when I tried to describe what Ring of Honor was in 2003, 2002, I say it was like WWF in '84. They were able to cherry pick the best independent talent from around the nation and build this wrestling company, because a lot of fans are frustrated with the current state of Ring of Honor, and a lot of the reasons I can understand, but when the issue of talent gets brought up, I mean, I don't think a lot of fans understand that there might not be the availability of that much talent for that company in the direction they're going, if that makes any sense. But, I mean, what do you think of the comparison to Ring of Honor in 2002, 2003 to maybe WWF in '84?
I think it's a great comparison. Because you're absolutely hit the nail on the head. I also think, and I've been talking about this a lot recently with, friends of mine and such within the wrestling scene, I think also the attitude of guys coming into the business has changed. I don't think that we have the guys in independent wrestling as hungry as they were back in those days, possibly because they don't necessarily see that their goal necessarily isn't to go to WWE. Like, their goal is to, show up and do ROH for a little bit or do this and that, where it seems like back in the day, guys would take bookings and, drive millions of miles with little pay in order to, sort of showcase their craft and get their name out there. And I think there's certain guys on the independent scene, like right now, like ACH and such. Like, ACH is a great guy, great talent. He doesn't drive. I mean, he needs rides to shows and such. That hurts him. He needs to sit there and definitely, and I love the kid to death, but I mean, that's an example right now of you have a guy like CM Punk where, he how many thousands of fucking miles on his car, sitting there, paying his dues, going to the receipt window, or pay window, if you will, and punching it out. Like, guys today, they need to be a little bit more hungry when it comes to their wanting to get to that next level. Like, people sit there and say, you know, oh, it's because these guys worked Ring of Honor. Yeah, that definitely helped. I mean, working during Ring of Honor for that great wrestling promotion during that period of time, but that's not all you can do. You got to want it, and you're going to have to work really, really hard. And for all you people sit there and talk about Ring of Honor doing this and that, Austin Aries, they wanted to make Austin Aries a fucking wine-drinking fucking manager. Think about that for a second, you know?
A name that, when you talk about driving everywhere, a name that comes up to me is A.R. Fox, because the kid lives in Georgia, and he drives all over the East Coast for shows. And I just think, yeah, it's really, it's maybe rare, I guess, today that a lot of guys do that.
Yeah, and I think also I think that in certain cases guys feel that they're owed something a little bit more. A.R. Fox is a good example. That kid drives a lot of places to get his name out and such. And I think another thing you have to think about now as opposed to back then is now there are groups like Dragon Gate USA, Ring of Honor and such, where you get your teeth cut and then you sort of sign a deal with them. And so you basically thought of as, here are your DG USA guys, here's your Ring of Honor guys, here's your Chikara guys. And maybe sometimes there's not all overlap there because they're too busy working for those companies. And that might be a good idea, having a steady paycheck and stuff like that. But at the same time, the steady paycheck is one thing, but at the same time, you won't get the experience and the knowledge that you'll have by going to different places. And I was very thrilled when the Chikara guys got to work Ring of Honor and such. And when the Ring of Honor guys came to Chikara, I thought that led to some exciting, you know, first time ever dream matches. But the facts remain that, you know, it seems that wrestling is a little bit more, let's say, it's put up in chunks. And I think Chicago, I want to take Chicago, for example. Chicago is a great town. There's plenty of organizations that run here. AEW has done a marvelous job in promoting wrestling in Chicago. Resistance Pro, the company I work for, is another company that's up and coming in Chicago, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But at the same time, here are two companies, and they're sometimes fighting over the same talent pool where guys are sitting there and trying to work as much as possible, which I understand, but don't hog the little sandbox that you have. Go out, see some other sandboxes, work in other places, see what you can do about getting yourself and your name out there, and don't stick to where you currently are, you know? And I think in certain cases, guys sit there and realize, okay, that's great. I've become a top name in DG USA. What's next, you know? Do I go to Ring of Honor and recreate myself? I mean, guys, when we were growing up, Alex, they didn't just sit there and go one place. They went as many places as possible, you know? They didn't just sit there and stay in one town and then work, you know, for like a pro wrestling blitz one night and then something else the next night. Guys need to realize that in order to be a star, in order to get your name out there and become someone, what you need to do is take that opportunity, grab it, and try and get booked as many places as possible without, you know, obviously making sure that you're hitting all your bookings and the like, you know, and make sure that when you come out there, you want people to remember you and you want to be something special.
Before we get into talk about Resistance Pro real quickly, I mean, sometimes it's interesting because I don't want to sound derogatory, but it's just independent wrestling. I have a friend who promoted some shows in Portage, Indiana, and he brought in Independent Superstar A. And Independent Superstar A told him that he couldn't lose because the other promotion he was booked at in the Indiana area, he was the champion. And you just can't believe some of these stories you hear about shows that maybe, you know, 2,000 people nationally will watch. You know what I mean, Keith?
Yeah, that's another thing where, you know, where are your big independent names, and can they win this match or can they lose this match? Like, let's not get politics involved with that because that makes things even worse. You know, I'm glad though because there are guys today that seem like they want it, and the guys I'm talking about are guys like Adam Cole, guys like Michael Elgin. Michael Elgin's a perfect example. I remember seeing Michael Elgin 5 or 6 years ago and thinking, oh great, it's a fucking Rhino clone. But yet the guy has become a fantastic wrestler, and he's realized that he, you know, needs to basically get in that car, leave Michigan and go all over the country in order to make his name. You know, Michael Cole, not Michael Cole, because Michael Cole fucking sucks, but Adam Cole, Hornswoggle, no, I'm kidding. There are guys out there right now that want it and are definitely taking the ball. And those, I salute those guys. But for a guy that's sitting there working in one town and such, that's great. That's great. I realize you have your real life, you have your job, but then let's strive for something different. Let's strive to be, you know, you shouldn't get anything handed to you. Make it work for you.
I love Adam Cole because he is an American-style wrestler, and I feel like we haven't had a good American-style wrestler on Independence and maybe since the late 90s. I mean, guys, once the Japanese style, I guess, kind of got real heavy and real predominant, seems like a lot of guys had a lot of Japanese influences. And Cole is a good American-style professional wrestler. You can tell grew up watching a lot of WWF, and he wrestles that way, but he wrestles I'm a huge Adam Cole fan.
And also, he's willing to sit there and be different where he goes. Like, he's not willing to be the same guy each place. CZW, his heel run last year was phenomenal. Very good heel run right there. Where ROH, sort of white meat, babyface, American, you know, not going to get into jiu-jitsu bullshit nonsense, but I mean, like, you know, he's willing to adapt to where he's going, but at the same time he's willing to sit there and make these bookings in different places. So, you know, like, that's one of the things I like about working with Resistance Pro is, you know, when Resistance Pro started, it was sort of like, oh my God, internet dream promotion. And I think it's come down to basically we bring in a few names that are on the indies right now that are hot. We bring in local guys that are good. We have a fantastic champion in Harry Smith, and I remember the name. I just was pausing. I was just pausing for the details. We have a nice core group of guys right now, and guys like a Josephus Brody who are willing to sit there and pay their dues, make the drive up from, you know, wherever. I think he's from Memphis, Tennessee, Thunderkitty. We have a lot of exciting talent going on right now in Resistance Pro. But the problem is when we came out of the gate, we gave people the Briscoes. We gave people Kevin Steen. We gave people Al Generico. We gave all these people these big, huge independent names. And what happened? Wait a second. The next show, this guy isn't on that show. Wait, the next show after that, this guy isn't on that show. Wonder what's going on here.
Do you know Thunderkitty helped set up the XPW show with me?
Really?
Yes, it's a small world. She was started at the Santino Brothers Wrestling School, which was Chaos Mongol School, back in 2007. And I can't do this without name dropping, but a couple of guys who've done stuff with WWE this year got me the gig to be able to set up the show, because originally we were supposed to wrestle the Gangsters, but someone made the call we were too inexperienced, so we set up the show, and another one of those people that helped set up the show was Thunderkitty. Nice.
That's awesome. She is a fire plug, as I like to call her. So she is awesome. Hey, have you seen the Gimmick?
I have not seen it in years. She worked a couple of shows with me in Southern California, and I haven't seen it since I moved.
Well, she's in. I think she's based right now, maybe somewhere in Indiana. But the Gimmick is over, and it's awesome. Her character is basically sort of a throwback to a 1950s wrestling woman, and it's really something to behold, and it's something different that we're trying to do in Resistance Pro, because we're trying to basically make a stew here, and who doesn't like a stew? Alex, I know you're a big guy, likes a stew, like Carl Weathers. I mean, you know, like all sorts of little different pieces in the puzzle.
You're listening to 240 Radio on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.